Why all the stress about breastfeeding? Isn't it supposed to be an easy decision? In this video, we are going to answer the top 10 questions about breastfeeding. And we are glad to have Teresa Hsieh, our breastfeeding consultant, to answer most of our questions about breastfeeding. This is Mark William. Welcome to Prime Health. So Teresa, tell us, how did this become an important topic for you?
Well, Mark, I'm an international board certified lactation consultant. I started this journey with the birth of my first daughter. We had a bunch of hiccups and I didn't know what resources to use to help me through that journey. I was already a pediatric nurse, but I wanted to become certified in just lactation. So I took classes, I got hands-on experience, and I took the international test to become an IBCLC.
So the first question, how do I know I am making enough milk? Does everyone make enough milk?
That's a great question, and it's a very common question. But before I know if a mom is making enough milk, I have to make sure baby is transferring the milk. When I go into a room and help a mom and a baby breastfeed, I look at three things. Is baby staying latched, or is baby unlatching every few sucks? Is baby sucking? I've met some babies that latch and they never suck. Those babies are not transferring milk. The third thing I listen for is a swallow sound. It sounds like, so I observe the baby staying latched, doing bursts of sucking, and doing the occasional sound. I also look at diaper output. Is baby having enough pees and poops every day? Has that thick, sticky, black poop changed to the yellow mustard kind? Then I know baby's getting milk. Is baby gaining weight or losing too much? Those are other ways I look to see that baby is transferring enough milk.
Okay, the second question we have is, when do I get milk?
Most mothers start producing milk when they're 16 weeks pregnant. It's just a small amount and it's held in check by different hormones. When mom delivers the baby and delivers the entire placenta and starts breastfeeding or pumping or hand expressing, her hormones change and her milk starts to increase. Some people call this early milk colostrum. Colostrum is breast milk. Later, it turns into transitional milk and mature milk. I tend to just call everything milk, and it increases based off of supply and demand. After the baby is born and the placenta is born, if the breasts are demanded of milk, then milk will increase.
The third question, what do I do if my baby or I can't breastfeed?
This is a big question. Sometimes mother's anatomy makes it hard for babies to breastfeed. That can be how their nipples are or how their breasts are. It could be how she feels when she breastfeeds. Another instance, if she has a very small baby and they're in the NICU and they can't breastfeed, there are just so many instances where moms and babies can't breastfeed. If you are in that case, then it is really important to seek out a lactation consultant. There really are three goals with breastfeeding. Number one is feeding your baby. Number two is increasing your milk supply. And number three is putting the puzzle pieces together. Sometimes those puzzle pieces go together very quickly, and sometimes it can take 1-2 weeks or up to 6 weeks.
Next question, how long should you breastfeed?
Every baby is different, and that question is really two parts. How long should I breastfeed during a breastfeeding session? And how long should I breastfeed? How old should my baby be when I stop? Now, as for the length of breastfeeding duration, the World Health Organization encourages families to breastfeed for 2 years or longer. There are lots of benefits to breastfeeding past a year. The American Medical Association encourages at least 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding, then adding solids and breastfeeding up to a year or more as the family desires. The other part of that question is, during a breastfeeding session, how long should a baby breastfeed? Well, every baby's different, and it's important to look at the baby after a breastfeed. It's normal for a baby to breastfeed 10 to 20 minutes on each side. However, some babies might only want one side for 6 minutes. If they are calm and content and relaxed, that baby is full and the breastfeeding session is over. If baby is wide awake, looking around, licking its lips, putting hands to the mouth, that baby's still hungry. It might need a burp and the other side offered.
We have another question. What food should I avoid or should I eat more of?
Well, the great news is you can pretty much eat whenever you want. The thing to remember, again, is that every baby is different. If you eat a lot of broccoli and then baby is colicky and fussy and crying, and then you eat broccoli again and baby does the same thing, you might want to not eat broccoli while you're breastfeeding. But you can have lunch meat, you can have sushi, you can eat spicy foods. Just watch your baby. The recommendation for caffeine during breastfeeding is the same during pregnancy. 1 large coffee a day is the best. However, again, you need to watch your baby. I have met a mom who started having 1 cup of black tea a day, and her baby consistently was fussy and gassy and upset a few hours later. With alcohol, most mothers can consume 1 drink and it gets out of their system within 2 hours. Remember, if you feel tipsy, you have alcohol in your milk. You can drink with breastfeeding, just refrain from breastfeeding until you feel back to normal. Your blood alcohol level is the same as what the alcohol content is in your milk. Foods and medicine that increase your milk supply are called galactagogues. But really, it's all supply and demand is your milk supply. If you drink a certain type of tea that says it will increase your milk, but then you only breastfeed 1 time a day, your milk most likely won't increase from that. So just remember, the more you breastfeed, the more you pump, that will increase your milk. If you feel like you truly don't have enough milk supply and you want to get some galactagogues in your diet, please reach out to your medical professional.
Next common question. When should I start pumping?
If breastfeeding is going really well, baby's peeing, baby's pooping, the weight is increasing, and your breasts and milk have increased, then we encourage not pumping until 3 to 4 weeks of age. This allows your body to match up with just the amount of milk the baby needs. Then we encourage pumping once a day after the morning feed. You have higher prolactin levels in the morning, so you have more milk. Go ahead and do that morning breastfeed. Wait 30 minutes and then pump for 15 minutes. We encourage offering a bottle starting then as well, just a few times a week, so that baby gets used to a bottle and won't refuse it later on.
We have a question. How do I get in contact with lactation specialist?
There are a few different ways to get a hold of lactation consultants. A lot of hospitals nowadays have lactation consultants that will do free outpatient visits or a visit for a small fee. There are also lactation consultants in the community that you can search on your mom's Facebook page or just by Googling it. There's also a website that is uslca.org. You can scroll down, put in your zip code, and they will list lactation consultants in your area.
That sounds great. The next question is, what if I need a pump and I cannot afford one?
A lot of mothers do buy a breast pump. Another way to get a breast pump is contacting your insurance. Some of them do need a doctor's prescription. If that doesn't work out for you, other places rent out breast pumps. These might be very high-end hospital-grade pumps, and you can rent them for 2 to 4 weeks at a fraction of the cost. Another way to get a pump is to go through community resources like WIC. Their website helps you find phone numbers to contact these people.
One of the common questions: how often should I breastfeed?
As parents, you're going to get various answers to this question. My answer is going to be more geared to those early weeks of breastfeeding. Newborns need to eat 8 to 12 times in 24 hours. That might mean an hour here, 3 hours there, a 4-hour stretch. It might be totally random. Other babies consistently eat every 2 hours. You have to remember, these babies are growing very fast, so they need to eat very frequently. When babies are acting hungry, such as bringing their hands to the mouth, licking their lips, looking around, that is when you should breastfeed, even if you just breastfed 45 minutes before. Now, in those early days when babies have lost weight, we encourage families to wake babies so they're not going much past 3 hours without eating. Once baby is growing and back to birth weight, if you want to let them sleep and feed them when they're awake, that's fine. As babies get older, they drop breastfeed sessions. I don't think there's one right amount of breastfeed sessions a day in older babies. They'll tell you what they need. Cluster feeding is when babies feed very frequently because they're having a growth spurt. That day, babies might feed every hour or hour and a half, but then they eventually go back to their regular schedule. When I have a new mom that has called me and she says, my baby is feeding 15 times a day, every day, I get concerned that either mom doesn't have enough milk or that baby is not transferring that milk. Remember, trust your baby. If your baby's acting hungry, it is. If you're concerned your baby's not getting enough milk, please reach out to an in-person medical professional.
Okay, what are the risks of not breastfeeding?
Breastfeeding decreases a mother's risk of certain cancers, of high blood pressure, of diabetes. Breastfeeding can also lower the risk of childhood cancer and childhood diabetes. Even 100 milliliters of breast milk a day, though, shows health benefits to the baby. So if for some reason you cannot fully breastfeed, there are still benefits to give what you can.
At the end, I think we've covered so many common questions, but if you have any final advice that you would like to share?
The first piece of advice that I would give to breastfeeding families is to trust your baby. Respect your baby. If they're constantly hungry and crying, not going to sleep, they're hungry and they need to be fed. My second piece of advice is that first week might have to be very flexible when it comes to feeding your baby. But as long as you meet those 3 goals of feeding baby, increasing your milk supply, and practicing putting the puzzle pieces together, that's a successful feeding. Even if it looks like pumping your milk out or giving a supplement. It's important to remember that the first week of your breastfeeding relationship might have to be very flexible. Every feed might look a little different, but as long as baby is being fed, mom's milk supply is increasing to her goals, and you work on putting the puzzle pieces together, like breastfeeding fully at the breast, it's a successful feed. Truly, I could speak about breastfeeding for hours. Please, if you have more questions, put them in the comments below.
Thank you, Teresa. That was very informative. And please, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye. Next question. How long should you...
This is good. Okay.
Next question.
You somehow get this... the risks... Okay. Concern babies not getting enough milk.
Next question. How long should I breastfeed?